When was the last time you actually sat down and read any of the things that you play, the intellectual property notices? This is basically Sony letting you know that you don't own anything that you actually buy digitally. They can rip it away anytime that they want to without giving you any notice. Right here, it just tells you library programs at Sony Interactive Entertainment Incorporated, licensed, keyword here, licensed for play on the PlayStation 5 or authorized PlayStation 5 format systems. This product is authorized and produced under license from Sony Interactive Entertainment Incorporated or its affiliates. Use of this subject to the copyright laws and applicable terms and conditions. Basically, the rest of those terms and conditions, and I will show you right here how you get to that. You just go to any game of your choosing, and then you go you click the options button and you go down to intellectual property notice. That's basically letting you know that you are leasing, almost like you're buying a car, right? You're leasing the games that you buy whenever you buy them digitally, and the lease is basically for an indefinite amount of time. You aren't aware of when Sony may just take it off of the store. And this isn't just for Sony, right? This is for Xbox, PC, on Steam, like anything where you're buying a game digitally. Think about it in the sense of you don't actually own that product. We seen this actually occur last month at some point with the Stellar Blade demo, where it actually released prematurely and it came out way before it was actually supposed to come out. Of course, about a month before it was supposed to come out, or a few weeks, give or take. And Sony went in and they just took out the game from the store, which you might think on one end, okay, that's fine. They did the same thing with PT. The problem occurs is when they are able to go into your system without letting you know at all, no prior notice, and just deactivate the game and just say, hey, even if you're connected to the internet or not, you don't have access to this game. You don't have access to this demo. They can do that for every single thing that you have bought in your library that is a digital product. As I'm editing this video, I did a little bit more research and also figured out they could technically do that for physical mediums as well, due to the fact that in current times, when you have a physical version of a game, you still have to download and install that game on your console. Key word is that it still has to download. It basically has to uncompress the zip file that is on the disc, because the disc is too slow to actually be read and played on your system. It needs to be downloaded to the SSD so you have those quick load times. Basically, the PS3 era was the last era where we actually had discs that meant something. So if Sony goes out of business and you have a physical version of a game, unless the game was made to be playable with a day one version, like a single player experience, then the likelihood of you still being able to play your physical games are still very, very low, and you would still experience the exact same problem. Whereas some Sony or any other company can just say, we're going out of business, or we just don't want you to play this game, so it's not playable, and no matter what you do, sorry, it's not playable on our system, it's not playable on our hardware. So they could do that the same way they could region lock a console just like that, or they could just update your system without telling you. So there's so much going on where that's why it's a pressing matter for the future of gaming, because it's already here and it's just going to get worse unless some kind of laws, some kind of jurisdiction is put in place. And I'm going to be an advocate for this. I don't know what else I can do, as I don't have much money, so I'm probably not able to like bring it to somebody to go to Congress or court or anything, but I will make it be known, and here and there, whenever it's on my mind, I will speak about it. Gaming as a whole has taken the world by storm. You know, we got hit with a pandemic. There was a flurry of heavy hitters in the gaming industry that was able to pull people from the outside sources of gaming. You started getting the progression of businessmen and business-minded people that are kind of just forerunning the entire industry of gaming. And on one aspect, you need people like that, but on the other, they're just taking advantage of how people of your everyday life has gotten used to not owning their movies, not owning their TV shows, right? I'm a collector, so when people come inside my studio and they come inside my house, my domain, and they're starting to see stuff, they're like, wow, you collect stuff, you have things, you still, like, there's sorry, there is still a wow factor to physically owning the things that you are interested in. Sometimes it may cost a little bit of extra money, but majority of the time it doesn't, unless you're like a collector and you're getting like premium type of goodies that most people don't have, like statues and stuff like that, or really old things, right? But if you're buying stuff as they're coming out, it's typically not going to be as much money. You're probably buying it for the same amount, as well as there being physical media sales, right? You can go to a GameStop, you can go to a Target or Walmart or whatever, or a local store that may be selling the games that you're interested in at a far reduced price than what you're getting on a digital platform, because the majority of the time the price on digital is always the full price, no matter how many years go by, unless they truly just permanently discount the game and they just say this game is this price in like forever now. We've seen that happen basically with GTA 5, where the game has gotten so old that they're just offering it at a permanent price of like $20 or $30. However, the game's full price was being sold at like $60, $70, whatever, for up to like the last 2 or 3 years, give or take. And that's the case with plenty of other games out there. I can go into the store right now, and as much as they do run these types of 70% sale off or whatever, I can go right here, discover Japanese RPGs, right? Can't find what I'm looking for. I didn't even click anything. It's just, okay, unavailable. That's crazy. And I'm just over here trying to show you kind of a little bit of what I mean. But you can basically go inside of the store and you can find games that are years old that are still selling for the exact same price, because you're buying it brand new. However, you're never owning it. That's what the problem is. Damn, as I'm looking at this is a bad play. You have Sandland dropping on the 26th, as well as dropping Stellar Blade on the 26th. Damn, that kind of sucks. At least that's coming out in June. I got time for, get up on that one. Anyways, my point stands is that you can have games that are years and years old that are still being offered to you for full price on a digital platform, on a digital media. However, you go inside of a physical store, a physical location, you're able to get that for so much less money, or so. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to say it. But yeah, it's a scary future that we have, because just like how people have gotten normalized to not owning their movies and their TV shows, and you just put Netflix on, you put Hulu on, you put HBO on, or I guess it's called Max now. You go on Amazon Prime, you go on Tubi, whatever it is, Vudu. You don't own those movies. You can pay to quote unquote own it, but it's still a license. You're given a license. I'm very familiar with this as I come from the music industry, because I make music and I'm an artist, I rap. So you have to lease beats sometimes. You have to do these types of small contractual deals all the time with basically everything that you do to like publicly release it. At least that's the proper way, and some people just aren't aware of that. You're basically doing that. It's a terms and condition that you would basically read on any type of device that you have, and if you're buying a game on it, they can just rip it away from you at any point. It's the same thing with mobile games. How many of you used to play Flappy Bird, right? They took it off of the store, but what if you had to pay for that game, and now they could take it off of your device if they wanted to. Really, if Apple wanted to or Samsung wanted to, what's stopping them? We've seen this happen with Sony, and it can happen at any point. As everything becomes more digital, it just becomes easier, because it becomes easier to lose control because you have none of it. I think that's what the main scare point is. As we move closer and closer and further away from the origins of our gaming space, of our physical mediums, we become less in control. And it's giving all control to the developers, it's giving all control to these mega giants that will control everything that's going on. I mean, how many times have you seen a server that you've put hundreds of hours into, and thousands of dollars, maybe not thousands, but it could be hundreds of dollars as well, goes offline. They're not giving you your money back. This happens all the time. Tons of times games are getting shut down, and there is nothing in place, no laws that say they can't just take your money for a pre-order or these skins that you had, these microtransactions, and then they just stop making the game work. It could be 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, and then that's just how digital stuff works nowadays, and it sucks. I think as somebody that understands both sides, like the business side, it allows you, gives you the ability to do these updates and polish up the game. You might release a different version of the game, and you can still like put it in people's. That's a cool feature, right? Imagine if somebody created the video game, and then they just like, all right, we just want you to have an entirely different version of this game, so we're gonna remove this version from your console, and in place of it, we're just gonna give you access to this other version. That's basically what they did with the PS5 versions or upgrade versions of games. And you know, you look at the history of a developer like CDPR, all these updates and updates and updates and updates. So having a digital format for developers is great, but as a consumer, there's still that risk. It's a threat to our privacy. It's a threat to our home system. It's a threat to our wallets. What do you control? You can't just storm up to Sony and just be like, hey, I demand that you give me this money back. That's not gonna work. That's never gonna fly. It has to be passed somewhere in Congress. It has to be passed, but that's being run by older people in a different generational time that have no clue about the entrapment that's kind of going on here. I guess it's not entrapment, but it is in a sense like, hey, it's either you use it or you don't. And if you are somebody that likes to stay up to date with certain times, then you know, it feels like you're kind of forced to do it. Because just as much as people will say, well, just buy the physical versions of the games, it really doesn't matter, because there are just as many games out there, if not more now, that don't sell physical versions of them. So you would have to buy it digitally. And for those physical games and discs that you have, who's to say that Sony doesn't have a way to just use a kill switch and you can't even play those? So I don't know, just you know, food for thought. I could probably make a more in-depth video and pull way more examples, but I think that's the main scare right now, is that just think about where we're at right now and how much worse it could be in about 5, 10, 15, even 20 years from now, when we're even older on these types of games and you can't access them because Sony just said whatever, or Microsoft said no, or Steam said no. You know, and you have no control, and you're just there with receipts like, hey, I bought this on May 13th of 2015, 2017. I spent $20, $30, $40, $50 here on these microtransactions, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So that's why I still buy physical things, but I do own the digital and physical version of the PlayStation 5. So yeah, it's just a scary thing to think about. I'm still gonna buy digital games regardless, and I'm still gonna buy physical games, but be careful about how much money and how much attachment you actually have to some of the digital things you own, because there's a big quotation mark around own. You are leasing it for an indefinite amount of time until Sony or whatever studio or I guess company just decides they don't want it on their platform anymore, and in fact they don't even want you to play it. That's a problem, and if you don't feel like it, then you're a part of the problem. Anyways, if you enjoyed the vibes, slide, subscribe, all of that stuff, and let me know what else you want me to kind of talk about, because I have a lot of things that run through my brain, and there's only so much time that I have to sit down and just talk to you about it. Again, like I always say, I know this video could have probably been way shorter than it is, because I just ramble and I talk and talk and talk, but I appreciate y'all if y'all sit down and listen to me. It's just something to think about, man. This shit is scary. The world is getting scary.